Welcome to Theme Weavers, your weekly wisdom for weaving yoga themes into your classes to inspire your students. We're your hosts, Heidi
and Farin. Welcome to episode 15 of Theme Weavers. Today we're going to talk about Santosha, the second Niyama mentioned in the Yoga Sutras, which is found in Sutra 2.42. If you don't know what Santosha is, or you want to know how to weave it through your class, then listen up. In case this is the first episode you're listening to, please check out episode 2 of Theme Weavers podcast for details and background on the structure of how and why to weave themes through your yoga classes. If you choose to use today's teaching on Santosha, contentment, as your theme while using the gift of our inspo sheet found on our website, then please find a way to turn our voices into yours. Make this theme authentic to you specifically.
Amazing. Thanks, Farin. For today, we're going to talk to you, like Farin said, about Santosha, sharing a Dharma talk that we would at the beginning of the class. In today's class that we'd be offering, we'll be talking about the second niyama called Santosha. Santosha, often translated as contentment. Contentment is not merely a fleeting feeling of satisfaction. It's a deep-rooted sense of inner peace and acceptance, a state of being that transcends external circumstances. It is when you have this unwavering belief that everything, even the challenges we face, serves a greater purpose and contributes to our personal growth. And I know we talk about this a lot, but in our modern lives, and I like to talk about it as our modern lives because when these were written, like it wasn't the same type of life that we live now, right? So it's good to bring it into context of today. But we are constantly bombarded today with stimuli, with messages that tell us that we need more, we need to achieve more, we need to be more. And when we're relentlessly pursuing external validation, it can often lead to a state of chronic dissatisfaction, a feeling of lack and inadequacy. So we feel not so good about ourselves because we're not measuring up to the things that society is telling us to have right now, in our face, or by comparison to what others have or are looking like or being like. So by cultivating contentment, we learn to appreciate what we have already, to find joy in the present moment, and to accept life's circumstances with equanimity. So let's consider a few practical applications of Santosha in our daily lives, right? It's one thing for me to tell you, be content. It's another thing to talk about how we can do it. So when you face a challenging task in your life, instead of dwelling on the difficulty of it, which often we do, you can approach it with a sense of curiosity and willingness to learn. And when you encounter obstacles in your life, which we all do, instead of viewing it as a setback or a roadblock, you can see it as an opportunity for growth and resilience. And then in moments when we're in frustration, whether it's because of those roadblocks or like the things that we don't have, or we're trying to do something and we can't do it, instead of succumbing to anger or self-pity, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Like, poor me, woe is me. Take a deep breath, pause, and realign yourself with a sense of gratitude for the blessings that you already have in your life. But here's the thing. Santosha is not about blind optimism or ignoring reality, right? I'm not telling you to be like, yay, I'm sunshine and I walk on rainbows and the little birdies are singing with me because everything is amazing. And it's not also thinking like, I'm amazing, I'm better than everybody else, right? It's not about any of that. It's about acknowledging the fact that we all have imperfections in our lives and in the world around us while maintaining a steadfast belief in your own inner strength and resilience. Yes, there's hard things in my life. There's hard things in this world. I'm facing challenges. Things are not going the way I want. But I know I'm going to be able to handle it. I have what I have like within me already. And I've overcome hard things already. So I'm going to overcome this too. Does that make sense, Farin? Like it's not just like blind, like, yeah, life's amazing.
Absolutely. And I'm going through a struggle with this at the moment because I am facing challenges. I am facing obstacles. And instead of, like you said, just letting it kind of bog me down and get me out and not find my resilience within me, I have to practice the Santosha even when it's like super shitty. I have to be like, okay, this is happening. And where can I find the joyful moments? Where can I find peace in it? And just accept where I am while not, I don't know. It's hard to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk. I mean, it's important. I think that when times are crappy, right? You talked about this on our last episode, what's going on with your son, especially, I imagine, is what you're talking about. Like, yeah. When time is crappy, it's easy to be hopeless. It's easy to be like, life sucks. Why me? Yeah. Why him? Like, everything is like crap, right? It's easy to succumb to that. It's easy to
Yeah.
get angry. It's easy to say like, I did something wrong, so this is happening. It's a hard practice to say like, I am resilient. He is resilient. We will get through this. We are being handed this. So that way we can acknowledge that life is challenging and know that we have what's within us to be able to sit in that and to be able to work through it, which kind of relates to another niyama, tapas, right? Which we'll get to in another episode, because you
Mhm.
can't just like sit in discomfort 24/7 with no purpose.
Right. And then I was also thinking it blends in with Ishvara Pranidhana of like
Yeah, because they
surrender.
all build. Right? They all build on each other.
Yeah. So, yeah, for those who may be just tuning into this episode, my son was diagnosed with leukemia 2 years ago. He was in remission for almost 2 years with chemotherapy. And then we found out that his leukemia came back. And now we're preparing for a bone marrow transplant at the time of this recording.
Wait, I'm gonna give a little plug in. If you're not registered with Be the Match is bone marrow, you can send away for a free bone marrow kit where you just get a swab and you do the inside of each cheek. I did it yesterday to see if you're a match to save somebody's life, like Farin's son.
Yeah. Yeah. Good plug. I like that. Yeah. So, I mean, we're facing this, and it's really hard for me to, practice Santosha with this challenging thing going on. How can I approach it with a sense of curiosity and willing to learn? And like, what lesson is here? Like, this is all just really shitty. Whatever this lesson is, I don't even want
Yeah.
it. Right. But I have to just, like I said, find those moments, be able to take a deep breath, pause, align myself in gratitude, which is also a big struggle when all you can focus on is like all the negative things that are happening. And I mean, obviously, I can't ignore reality. Like, we're facing this, but where can I find those moments where it's like, okay, we're facing this, and I do have the tools to keep going, and I do have the support to keep going. Like, where can I find those little silver linings that
Yeah,
are
and I
like,
think we all have them, right? It's not saying like this shitty thing is not happening. It's saying I have an entire community that's rallying around me, supporting my son, both with donations, with blood, with trying to be matches, with showing up, with cooking meals and bringing them to my door so I don't have to go grocery shopping in between hospital visits, right? It's so acknowledging
mm-hmm,
the gratitude for that kind of a contentment. It's looking out. It's the fact that when he had his hospital room this time, you had a view to the outside, right? Like you can feel content, like even though we have to be here,
yeah,
I can see the sky, right? And that like feeling content for the fact that we have medical insurance. So that way I can get the care that we need for our son, and that I have a job that is flexible, that's allowing me to find ways to be able to still earn an income while having to take all of this time off, right? So it's not saying that like, I'm so happy this thing is happening to me, or it's not just being like, I hate the world for this happening to me. It's trying to still find the things that we can
mm-hmm,
find appreciation and gratitude and find ease into, whether it's within ourselves, our community, nature around us. Sometimes it's just being able to look up and see the moon rising and you can feel content in that moment despite the storm that's happening around you.
yeah, that's so good. And so, I mean, the practice can be for something that's that big and that huge, of like, you have a loved one who is ill, to, as small as you're stepping on your mat and you're finding, some challenge or obstacle in getting into a posture or something. And then where can you find contentment in that? So, I mean, it's on this big scale and small scale
It's
always.
still a practice like everything else. It's not like I'm a yogi and I'm practicing the niyamas, so I'm content, right? Like it's not glossing over the situation or bypassing the fact that this is meant to be challenging. It's not meant to be like I'm having the best day of my life and I'm content because I have all the things that I want. It's life is hard and messy. How can I find moments of contentment within that to help me walk along this eightfold path of yoga?
Yes. If I was a journalist still, I would quote you on that. I would take that little snippet right there and
Wow,
boom.
thank you. Moments with
So good.
Heidi when she's not even. And then the best part is if Farron were to say to me, "Can you say that again?" I'd say, "I have no idea what I just said." I hate
Yeah.
that. But Farron the other day was teaching amidst this shitstorm of her life right now. And she left me this message later telling me it was like one of the best classes she ever taught. And that in Shavasana, she was like, whoa, what kind of a poet wrote that? And then she realized that like she said it, it was from within her. And sometimes we just surprise ourselves with the things that come out of us.
Yeah, like, how did that come out of my mouth?
It's just presence. But anyway, as we're talking about right now, cultivating Santosha has a lot of challenges, right? In a world that constantly reinforces the notion of scarcity and dissatisfaction, or the world that gives you sick children that both Farin and myself have. Thankfully, my son is in a state of okayness at the moment, but like we both live with our second born children giving us situations that are really freaking hard, right? So it can be really hard to difficult and embrace a mindset of contentment. Like, how can you be content in a life that gives you these situations? That's hard. We acknowledge that. And then in our class, right, this is still our Dharma talk somehow. And before we start to move our bodies, we want to get curious about finding Santosha here and now. Can we jump right in and do a brief body scan, perhaps, noticing what in your body feels tight, what feels tired and sore? And notice that's where your attention is going first anyway, right? We always notice the areas that hurt and that are struggling. But now, can you also notice what already feels good? Can you notice the parts where your body is already at ease, content, and comfortable? Santosha reminds us to look at ourselves and find peace and acceptance, and asks us to accept our perceived limitations and celebrate them, and know that we can have both our limitations and find peace in the same exact body, right? Whether that's in a posture where we're finding struggle, we can also find softening, and we can find joy for our experience to even be here. Or when you're in the hospital, you can feel frustrated about your life experience and angry. And you can look out the window and see the sun and eat a yummy meal that one of your friends dropped off for you. So you can have both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question is, are you able to practice Santosha in the beautiful moments of your life? And just as easily, can you find Santosha in the hard moments? Where does your mind go when things get tough? Can you find peace and contentment even in the struggles? So in this class today, can we find a sense of contentment for where you are in your movement practice and where you are in your emotional and spiritual practice? Find peace, find acceptance.
Beautiful Dharma talk.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Farin. But what's the challenges, Farin? Right? We talked a little bit about this. What are the challenges?
I mean, obviously, it's not easy, especially when the challenges are really freaking huge. But here are just a few other challenges that you might face when you're practicing Santosha. Maybe the fear of missing out, or FOMO, can lead to a constant craving for more, making it difficult to appreciate what you already have.
So what you're saying is when you're sitting in the hospital and all your friends are getting together to do something and you're sitting there rather than feeling content for being able to be with your child, you're like, God damn it, why can't I just be doing the things that everybody else is doing? Like, this is maddening.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be going into the hospital this Friday, and he'll be there for a week. And I'm missing my favorite race of the entire year. I'm a runner, and this is our like ultra marathon here that's local. And even if I didn't run it, I still wanted to be out there to volunteer and stuff. So I'm like definitely already feeling the FOMO. But then I'm like, you know what? I know that I'm going to be hanging out with my son. We're going to watch The Naughty Nine. It's on the Disney Channel. And like we don't have, yeah, we don't have regular TV, so I wouldn't have known about it. But it's like only on Disney Channel movie, and so we can only watch it when we're in the hospital. So I'm like, cool.
Look at that. That is Santosha. That's finding contentment in a situation that's not already amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I love it.
I love that.
Another challenge you might face while you're trying to practice Santosha is the pursuit of perfection, which can create a sense of inadequacy or dissatisfaction, even when you achieve significant milestones. Oof.
So what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Tell me. Give me an example.
I feel like that's my life, dude. I am definitely a perfectionist. I'm definitely a person who always is like striving for the next thing. And I feel like when I achieve things, I'm just like, okay, cool, like move on to the next. Like I don't give myself that time to like appreciate what just happened. I'm just like, all right, yeah, that happened. Now I'm going to do the next thing. And I always feel like inadequate, like I need to be doing more. And I'm just like dissatisfied with what I've already accomplished. It's rough.
Is that like you finish a race and you're on the podium and all of a sudden you're already thinking about the next race rather than being like, oh my God, I'm on the podium.
Yes, exactly. Or if I'm like second on the podium and I'm like, well, I didn't get first though. So next time I need to get first because this was inadequate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I would never be on a podium. So like you can find contentment that you will always beat me. That's amazing. I think that leads to another one, though, don't you think? Like, you're sitting there on the second podium comparing yourself to the person on the first one.
Yes, social comparison. So I'm measuring my worth against others, which I always tell like new runners not to do, but I don't follow my own advice. So I'm always telling new runners, like, it doesn't matter what place you get. It doesn't matter, like, even if you're in the back of the pack, like, as long as you finish the race, like, you're good to go. You can't measure your place against someone else's place, because you should just be racing the clock, or like your own personal best. Like, you are, at this level of running. So can you like up your level by yourself without like worrying about who else is going to be at that race that day? So, but I don't do that. I'm always like, no, I gotta win.
I think it's really interesting, though, Farin, because as you're saying this, I'm thinking to myself, like, if you're just content with your experience, how do you ever grow? How do you ever find the drive then to want to do more? Like, if I'm like, yeah, I ran a race.
Top us.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you're not done? Like, once you find contentment, like, that's not, ta-da!
You're never done. With yoga, you're never done. It's like a consistent practice. So it's like, cool, you get this contentment one down, and then with the next niyama, you're hit with tapas, right? Which I guess we'll talk about in the next episode. But it's that drive and that inner fire to keep pursuing.
So even though you're content with what you have, you still have to keep working.
Yeah, that's life.
But from a space of contentment, not a space of dissatisfaction.
True. Yes. I know. This is so complicated.
Interesting. It's just pretty cool, because you have to think about it. Like, awesome, I'm doing such great work. I'm telling the truth. I'm like living a clean life. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm super content. And now I have to keep pushing myself, and which we'll talk about next week. But like, it's not over just because I feel content. Like, I haven't reached the state of enlightenment by feeling content with my body as it is, or my mind as it is today, or my life experience as it is. I still have to work.
Yeah.
But not from a space of dissatisfaction or to try and better myself than others, but because I feel content with where I am. So I still have to work, and I still have to grow and transform from a state of satisfaction with what I still already have. Which is hard, like, to motivate yourself when you're already happy with what you have. It's like,
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Abhyasa and Vairagya, like this single.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yes, single pointed focus, but without an attachment to the results. It's like, like how I struggle.
I get it. That's the practice, right?
Yeah.
So what else? Tell me more about these challenges.
Yeah, so overcoming these challenges requires a conscious effort to shift your perspective. When FOMO arises, you have to remind yourself about the abundance in your life. Or when perfectionism takes hold, you have to focus on the process rather than the outcome. And when social comparison creeps in, as it always does with me, celebrate the unique qualities that make you who you are.
This is making me think about a friend of mine who like really thrives on being with people, right? Like, she's very extroverted and does so much because she has such FOMO and doesn't want to miss out on anything, that she never says no to things. But then she's really tired and dissatisfied and never creates space for herself. And then in those moments where she says no, all she can do is like scroll the internet to see the pictures of her friends who are out doing the thing that she said no to. So she's dissatisfied by being with the people because she's exhausted, and she's dissatisfied when she's home because she has FOMO. So like, if you can practice contentment, it's feeling content in the fact that you said no to create your own boundaries and take care of yourself, and just feel happy for the people that are out doing something, knowing that like you're home taking care of yourself because that's actually what you need and where you can find your contentment, and stopping the comparison of what other people are doing. That's hard for a lot of people.
Are you talking about yourself, Heidi?
I'm not. No, I'm maybe talking about myself like 15 years ago, because I've learned, actually, maybe not 15. When was the pandemic? Like 3 years ago? Like, I had to learn in the pandemic to be okay staying home.
Okay.
And not missing out on things. I'm not talking about myself in this point, but it's true, because I definitely do I used to think about like, oh, X, Y, and Z is doing A, B, and C, and I'm not doing it. I'm missing out. Like, I can't miss out on anything because that makes me boring, or that makes me whatever, like not feeling good about myself.
Yeah.
But now I like don't even look. Now I just feel so happy to get into my jammies and watch The Crown. We're watching The Crown now on Netflix with my husband, like snuggling. That's super delicious for me. And it's okay that there's people doing other things because that's delicious for them. Or it's not because they're not operating from a state of Santosha and they're missing out.
Love it. I know. And then my follow-up question was like, are you talking about me?
I don't know. Am I? No, I'm not actually talking about you. I'm talking about somebody who I'm not going to name in case they ever listen to this. But it's not you.
Yeah. Okay.
I promise. But I think that social media, though, Farin, is a big thing with that. Like when people see pictures of their friends doing stuff and they're not included, or they chose to say no and they're still not included because they chose to say no. Like that's a big thing that makes people not content in their lives.
Yeah, for sure. It just made me think about our studio. We offer, beyond classes, we offer workshops and like events where we do ecstatic dance or like yoga in your PJs and movie night and like really cool stuff. And a lot of the students are like, I just feel like I'm missing out. You guys offer so much, but like I'll just live at the studio if I go to everything. But I hate seeing it on social media because then I wish I was there. And I'm like, oof, that's a practice of Santosha that needs to happen.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to not compare yourself to what other people have. And this is sort of like asteya, right? When we talked about asteya, stay on your own mat. Don't compare yourself to other people because then you're stealing from yourself and your experience. But I think Santosha is also, when you're not practicing Santosha, you are stealing from yourself and the joy of what you can find in the moment that you're in. So I think that is a form of not, like when you're not practicing Santosha, you're not practicing asteya.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all go together. And one's a yama and one's a niyama, and they kind of like match up.
Right. One's how you treat others and one's how you treat yourself
Yeah.
or how you go inward, right? But I think they sort of parallel each other in many ways.
So why would we try to practice Santosha? What are the results?
I mean, first you can start to reduce stress and anxiety because you're not stressing out on thinking about all the things that you wish you had, or you're not anxious about missing the things that you could be doing otherwise, or you're not stressing out about your weight, or you're not stressing out about the books that you're not reading, right? You're being able to find a sense of peace of mind and emotional well-being just by noticing the good of what is in your life. I think it also helps your relationships because I think I've talked about this with you, Farin, like it's really hard for people to be happy for somebody else's success without feeling bad about themselves because they're not experiencing that success. For me to say, I'm so happy for you, Farin, that you got this promotion or that you had a sold out room with a waiting list, and to not feel bad about myself for not getting the promotion or not selling out my class, right? Like it's difficult for us to be able to not feel bad about ourselves while feeling joy for somebody else. And that other person starts to notice that because it feels like you're not being genuine in your joy for them, because then you're having like a woe is me for yourself, like your own little pity party. Mm-hmm. So when you can approach others with compassion and understanding and joy and happiness for themselves and what they've accomplished rather than criticism and judgment, your relationships are going to improve, right? Like when I can just be happy for you, Farin, for your happiness, and sad for you without like boasting for my own goodness, right? Like it goes both ways. Yeah. Our friendship's going to be better. Or like when I can be happy for my husband and his promotion without then making it about myself, like we're going to have a happier marriage. Mm-hmm. And also when I feel good about myself, I'm going to just be kinder to everybody else around me, because when you're feeling depressed about your own stuff or sad or anxious about your own stuff, that bleeds out into the rest of the world. So your relationships are going to improve as well, I believe, personally. You're also going to become more resilient because you're going to be able to navigate the challenges in life with greater strength and adaptability. And it's really hard in the moment. Like I'm coming back to you and your son and his illness and his leukemia right now. Like you being able to find contentment and Santosha in this moment is going to make you more resilient as a human. And it's going to make your son more resilient because he's going to see the way that you're modeling this. Mm. And that's freaking hard. But what a gift to be more resilient in the face of adversity and challenge.
Yeah, sometimes I think he's more resilient than I am. Like, this is the person who it's actually happening to. You know, I'm just his mom, like a bystander watching and trying to help, but he's the one going through it. And he's over here like, cool, we get the room that is across from the snack bar.
Snacks!
Yeah. Or
and you're like, but we're in the hospital again.
Yeah. He finds contentment in just like every moment there at the hospital. And I don't understand it sometimes. I'm like, man, you're so good at this little yogi.
Kids can teach us so much, right?
Yes.
Now what, Farin? You're teaching your class. You gave this Dharma talk. We know the challenges. We know the rewards. What's your thematic through line? What's the phrase that you can use in different postures throughout class, or phrases to help your students remember that you're learning and practicing Santosha today?
Yeah. As we go through and practice, there's a few different ones that you can either just pick one or maybe pick a couple of them and then alternate between the two. So one for you is, I am content exactly as I am.
I did a class once, Farin, where every inhale I would remind them I am content.
Mm-hmm.
And every exhale, exactly as I am. Like, it became a mantra throughout the whole practice to link with their breath. And it was really powerful for a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I might use that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Like today.
You can.
Today when I teach.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love how when we record podcasts in the morning when you wake up, you're always like, I teach so much better that day because I'm like in it.
Yes. Cool.
Okay. Sorry. I interrupted. What else?
All good. So that one, I am content exactly as I am. And then another one is, I accept myself as I showed up today. Another one is, I embrace myself completely in, and then whatever pose name that you're in at the moment. Another one, you can ask a question of your class and say, what would contentment in this pose look like? And the version of the pose you're taking should fulfill your body, no one else's. This reminds me of, who said it one time? It said, you're not putting your body into the pose, you are creating the pose with your body.
I like that. I have no idea who said it. You're so good at remembering people's quotes.
I think Matt actually said that.
As in Matt Giordano?
Matt Giordano, during our 300-hour teacher training. Yeah. Okay, we have a few more thematic through-line phrases. You can say, find yourself in this moment. Breathe. You're here right now. Can you find contentment here? And what can you do to feel even more comfortable, content, or at ease here?
I love it. These phrases and other things are going to be on our inspo sheet that you can find at themeweaversyoga.com/episode 15. And we'll list all these out for you and more. And we also, as you know, if this is not your first episode listening, we include some inspirational quotes that remind us of the practice of Santosha. We have some songs that you might want to use in your classes or while thinking about this to help bring the theme to life, as well as mantras and mudras, pranayama, postures, and meditation to weave into your classes. But Farin, we know that people really enjoy when we try and off the cuff come up with a peak pose to align with our theme of the practice. So a peak pose that could have to do with Santosha. Let's think. What might you do?
So off the top of my head, I would think of a peak pose that is really challenging. That way it's maybe easier to use these thematic through-line phrases and ask them to really find contentment where they are, because it might be a really challenging posture that like not everyone can completely do like to the max. You know, they have to kind of modify and find a way to be content in the posture. So one that I'm thinking of is, what is it called? Like twisted monkey, twisted lizard-ish.
Where you catch your back foot?
Yeah. So you're like in lizard pose. So let's say your right foot is forward and it's in line with where your hands are planted on the mat. But then you bend your left knee and kick your foot up towards the ceiling. And then you grab with your right hand to your left foot. So you're twisted open. That's a really difficult pose.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Can you find contentment either with the bind or even without the bind, but you're just reaching for it, like reaching for your foot, even if you can't grab it? Or can you just stay in lizard, you know, without even bending your foot or bending your knee and just chill there without comparison?
I love that. I have another one too I could think of.
Yeah.
And my brain was thinking about layers of postures. So that way, like you start with the most, as like you're getting toward the peak, you start with the most accessible
Mhm.
and you get more challenging and being content with the option, like almost picturing like a bus driving by stop. Stop A is the least intense and stop D is the most intense. And
Mhm.
you get to choose your bus stop and be content with your choice. So like bridge, wheel prep with the hands back behind you pushing up into a bridge, wheel with just the weight very lightly on the top of your head, and then like full wheel where you lift up. And then maybe even like a wheel with a single leg kick up to the ceiling, and feeling content with the choice along all of these stops on the bus that you make for your body, and not what you think you could do, not what others are able to do, but feeling content with the choice that you make right now in this class.
Yes. Love that. Two really difficult poses.
Right? All right. So wrap it up for us, Farron. How do you end this class?
Yeah. So when they're coming out of Shavasana, you say, as you wind down your physical practice and prepare to walk off of your yoga mat, you can notice how your yoga practice does not have to end here. Continue the practice of cultivating Santosha. Remember that it is a gradual process, a continuous practice of self-awareness and acceptance. Being content is hard work. It involves being vigilant in your response to any voice in your head that tells you that you're not enough as you are. Right now, you are enough. There's nothing to fix here. There's nothing that needs to be done. There's nothing to change or work on. Just be. Now, you can go to our website, themeweaversyoga.com/episode 15, and request the inspo sheet for Santosha to help you bring this theme alive in your own voice, in your own practice and teaching. Reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, or email. Let us know how it lands with your students. We're here to support you as a fellow yoga teacher in your class preparation and delivery. So let us know how we can be of the most support.
Awesome. So please tune in next week for another episode of Theme Weavers. You got a little sneak peek a few times in this episode of what we're going to talk about. Come listen and we'll help you feel prepared to go on and inspire your students in your next class. And again, if you're unsure on the structure of how to weave your theme throughout the class, please feel free to go back and listen to episode 2 for some background and inspiration. Until next time, we weave you in peace.